Are there any random comments that anybody wants to make about what you discussed or where you got to, just in a few moments?
I mean, the main point that came in our group was that the creativity is lacking, and it can take you in a angle where, without any human element, and it can lead you to conclusions which are totally incorrect. So unless the ability to critically analyze that, if we lose that ability, then we are in a serious problem, because
Yeah,
AI is not going to help you with that critical thinking.
absolutely. I totally agree with that. And I'm not a total dinosaur. I think it has great potential for the future, but I don't know how we'll know when it gets there, if it ever gets there, and how you keep an eye on it. Any more comments?
Yeah, in our group, we've all used it to an extent. Though I think some of us thought it was a very good tool. It gives you like alternative
Mm.
lines of inquiry, but you just have to interrogate and ask for references, especially after the first two encounters. You showed us. I think it's important. It's very relevant, but you just need to make sure you get your sources and follow those up rather than just believing, like
Yeah,
as you can see, it's very convincing, but
very
false.
much so.
So as
Yeah.
long as you back that up with, you know, the real references and stuff, you back it up with the reality of things. And I think, like proper conversation, ask it various things, interrogate it just to see if it gets its knickers in a twist and it's all lies, or it's kind of going to lead you to a good place eventually. I suppose that's, I'm thinking that's all critical thinking is about, is that you ask it more questions and it
Mm.
feeds it back, you go back. But you're right, it can lead you down a rabbit hole of various things, but you kind of just need to pick the important things out of it and then back it up, try and find out if you've got like a main question you want it to answer. Just try and keep to that, the remit of that, and get that information backed up from, like peer reviews and stuff. So we all thought it was a very good tool.
And another thing which I've heard from other friends who have used it is that when they have an AI friend, the AI friend agrees with everything that they say, and
Yes.
the AI friend is not a critical thinker or a critical friend.
I mean,
So I mean that's a, sorry.
so there was a comment whether the AI outcome is the same in every part of the world, because in some areas they may not have the same widespread access to information. The AI
That's
model
interesting.
over there, like in China or Africa and other things, and it is based on a typically Western white-based background. So I don't know how that affects the critical thinking.
But again, that would go along with the against the critical thinking, where it will actually not see its blind spots or not see its prejudices, or it will actually only go as you suggested in one direction.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, there's someone with their hands up there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Salma here. I was just
Hello.
making a comment. Hi. To say AI is in its early stages at this moment of time, so it's still learning. And for those of you who have used it, I think it's pretty much about the old saying of shit goes in, shit comes out. So you've got to be very careful what you put in. And if you're able to use it well, then it is a really good tool, especially when it comes to removing some of the mundane activities that you have to do at work and giving you the space and time you need to actually really use your brain for proper work, as I would call it. But it's still in its early stages, so we can't rely on it completely. You still need that your own human brain to rethink, to say, is this the correct direction? Is this the right way to use it? Or do we need to rephrase the question, reframe it, and think about something else? So that's needed. But aside from that, I think it's also important to know that each AI tool that we may actually use has got its own personality. It's still developing. It's interesting if you ask the same question to DeepSeek or you ask it for Copilot or you ChatGPT, all of them give it in a very different format. One of them is extremely polite, one of them is total opposite of it. So it's a good way of actually, if you got nothing better to do, just see what they actually come up with. Really interesting personalities that are emerging depending on where they've been designed from. So it's good.
Thank you. Some really interesting comments there. I'm sorry, I can't see your names, but you've got your hand up. Hello.
Yeah, it's Joe. So I use AI a lot, different tools. Don't worry, I won't use it in this assignment. That's not going to be a problem. The problem is, and it's a bit like the internet, people are starting to use AI like if it's Google. That is a big problem. Even now, AI is integrated within Google Gemini, their Gemini model is. And that's fine. It increases productivity a lot. You can get more than and with better quality. I mean, consultancies are in big trouble, as an example. The problem is that AI is not becoming an enabler, it's becoming a replacement. And when what it's doing is not only replacing skills and abilities, it's actually replacing our ability to think and reflect. And that is where, because AI can't be creative, AI can't be intuitive. So that's what limits the human ability to think differently. And that's what evolution is about. That's what we were talking in our group was what makes us human is our resilience and our ability to be creative under immense stress. AI doesn't have that ability. And what we're seeing, and there's already some research, particularly in children, that they're losing their ability to think and learn because they're just using AI to replace that. I think we need to be incredibly careful. AI can be very safe and can actually do a lot of things. The drift is a bigger problem than hallucinations, but I do think you wait 2 years and the hallucinations will no longer be a problem. These things will be resolved fairly quickly. I think the problem is that the more it gets better, the more people will use it instead of their brains. And I think in terms of the future and our ability to deal with wars, to deal with new age revolutions, to deal with disease, we will lose that. And AI, because they can't be creative, they might be able to find things in the short term that humans still haven't with the data currently available, but there will be a limit to that because you do need the human brain to have that evolution. And I do think wait a million years if we're still here, because robots will take over, but if we're still here in a million years, we're looking at a case where Darwinism will take over and our brains will get smaller, etc., etc. But that's what I think. And I use it a lot, but I am very conscious about its risks, its fundamental risks, potentially to humanity. And if you ask the tech bros, the Elon Musks, the Sam Altmans, etc., they themselves are incredibly conscious and scared about what AI can become. And regulation is urgently needed.
Really
and AI is not
fabulous
just
points.
your chat boxes. AI is actually your medical robots, your cleaning utensils, your self-driving cars. AI is all of that.
And it can't translate very well either. So that's another thing. But there we go. You've got your hand up again.
Yeah, I think I'd probably agree with what you've actually said, but we have to remember that it's still in its early stages.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of potential that still hasn't been picked up. But just on the concept of the utilization of brain cells and how AI can perhaps the concept of Darwinism that you mentioned, I think there's more and more research coming now where you're actually seeing the brain cells that have been bogged down with the kind of things that you would have probably spent too much time and energy on being released and actually being more utilized. So the early research is now saying even if you're using AI, your brain is actually doing more work, but better work that you probably enjoy doing and probably are better at doing. So there are two frames of research that are happening at this moment of time. One that says
really interesting.
AI will make your brain redundant. The other one actually saying, no, it'll actually make it better for you. It's also interesting to note how people with neurodiversity are interacting with AI.
Yes.
you're noticing that people who've got neurodivergent syndromes are actually interacting better with AI. Their work is getting better. Their ability to interact is getting better. It's probably because they're thinking in a different direction, a different way, that probably is more suited to AI ways of working. So there's a
really
lot
brilliant
more that's yet
points.
to come.
Really brilliant points of view, and thank you ever so much for that, and the importance of putting different points of view. We just got one or two, or a few, I think 5 slides to finish with, which I'll rattle through quite quickly. But thank you ever so much for that feedback, which I really enjoyed and I found interesting. So I will put forward the point of view: in the age of AI, critical thinking is needed more than ever, and it's around some of the things that a few of you touched on. And there is a big difference between machine learning and machine thinking. Large language models are good at analysing data, looking at patterns of information, but they can't exercise judgment. And judgment is part of that human thinking and the creativity that's linked to it as well. Critical thinking is still needed, especially in the following areas: contextual understanding, creativity and innovation, ethical considerations, which is very, very important, emotional intelligence and adaptability. So very much AI should be used as a tool rather than as a replacement for your critical thinking. Next slide. Oh, use of AI and HFMA assessment assignment. I would urge all of you who are doing the assessment assignment, please refer to the full HFMA learner use of generative artificial intelligence policy. There are a few points here which I've taken from it, but please read the whole policy to make sure you understand it, because there are ways in which it is acceptable for you to use generative AI tools like ChatGPT for idea generation without specifically cutting and pasting text, grammar support and structural suggestions. I missed that point there. It flashed up and went again.
Says AI still cannot be held responsible on legal and statutory grounds, hasn't met the legal age threshold yet.
Good point with that. So a whole load of bullet points here. It must AI assisted work must represent your own efforts and not substitute for your thought or academic rigor. You must maintain critical oversight. You must be transparent. Any use of AI must be acknowledged, and you'll be told how to submit use of to acknowledge that use of AI. You must not rely solely on AI to complete your assessment assignment, and you mustn't use it in any way that breaches privacy, data protection, or HFMA's AI policy. Next slide. So critical thinking when using AI, it can be very, very helpful, as has been described and discussed in the feedback. I think there were some fantastic examples that were given there, but we still have to carry on and continue our learning. We still need to build our knowledge and skills, because even when we think that a computer could do something more quickly for us, we still need to be able to exercise our judgment and to review the answers to see if it makes sense in the way that we've discussed. We need to be able to critically evaluate, particularly whether AI models have used the most up-to-date information available, or whether they've come up with something that's incorrect or misleading, coming back to the AI hallucinations. We also have to have a bit of healthy skepticism, particularly when a claim seems too good to be true. We need to be reflective. We need to use an AI model like ChatGPT. If we're using it to create something, we always need to reflect on it by asking questions. And I think that point was very well made in the feedback. How much does the content align with our own thinking? Do we want to include any elements that they don't? And that will make us stronger critical thinkers when dealing with the output of AI systems. Next slide. So a summary of what critical thinking is: it's a form of reflective reasoning that evaluates information and arguments. It does not accept arguments and conclusions presented at face value. It questions and scrutinises the evidence provided. It looks for logical connections between ideas. It considers alternative interpretations. It evaluates the strength of arguments presented, and it applies a range of intellectual skills to reach clear, logical and coherent judgments within a given context. And in a way, a number of those elements are very much what you need to be looking for, not only in your everyday thinking, but also when you're applying it to the assessment assignment. Next slide, please. Critical thinking, what it is and why it counts. Critical thinking is skeptical without being cynical. It is open-minded without being wishy-washy. It is analytical without being nitpicky. It can be decisive without being stubborn, evaluative without being judgmental, and forceful without being opinionated. I think that is fabulous, and that is back to Passione in his update, Critical Thinking, what it is and why it counts. Next slide. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you for coming this evening. I know it's difficult after a busy day at work. I hope you enjoyed this evening's session. If you've got any questions, there's an email address there, or I think we've got a whole 2 minutes at the end if people want to ask any questions at the end. But thank you so much for coming. I think I really enjoyed Paul's presentation as well. So thank you, and thank you for participating in the feedback. Have a good evening.
Thank you both. Thanks, Lexi and Paul. And as Lexi's just said, please don't hesitate to contact the Academy. And also, Paul and Lexi put their emails on the first slide, and the slides will be uploaded tomorrow. So if anyone doesn't have any questions, you may go and enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Thank you.